This is part of the Métis self-documentation project. I ended up doing a book. I started off writing, and so I don't know, there was something that came over me, and I wanted to, I used cloth and fabric. I used my photos. I have a lot of photography. So mostly everything in this book is something I have, any photos or photos that I've taken from my family albums, or else I have manipulated those photos. So anyway, this project was really amazing. I'm going to be putting this into a book, making a book. I'm just waiting for something to come in the mail to make it, hopefully a tool that's going to help me make this into a book, because I've never made one before. This is so new to me. And this is little Albert. I will talk about him at the end. So this is the book that I designed, and that's me as a baby, and my grandmother and my auntie. And like Louis Riel said, my people will sleep for 100 years, but when they awake, it will be the artists who give them their spirit back. And I feel like my spirit has been given back by doing this project. It's really been phenomenal. And this was me before, maybe about 7 years ago. I have so many photos of me with my mouth closed, on purpose, tightly closed, and especially as a child. So I think this is very representative of me now saying I'm going to use my voice. So this is about the ancestors, and I appliqued these flowers as a flowering wreath. I grew up not knowing I was Métis, like many, and but hearing about it at night. And both my parents, my father and my mother, are Métis. My father from Georgian Bay, and my mother from Red River Settlement, Pembina. And so this was a poem I wrote. A house that harbored secrets, yet deep within the walls remains a sibling love that has reached long into the decades of time. The house still stands, burnished with the smell of fresh bread. Oh, my mom made fresh bread. With the sounds or the sounds of pages flipping in comic books. My brother was such a great comic book trader. And silly stories told into the night. And I used to tell my sister stories. A lot of times the stories were when there was alcohol. My father and my sister would ask me to read to her, or actually to tell her stories that I made up. And my sister, she is all I have left of my family on this side. My parents and my two brothers are gone now, so I cherish her. So this was our old home, and this was what it felt like. I felt when I was younger, that I was not lovable, and that I was trapped. And I don't feel that way anymore. But I just needed to document that was how I felt. I felt stuck for a lot of years. This page is about my loss. My mother died about 16 months ago. So this is a chalk little drawing that I did. She is mourning. And this was the song that I drummed to her when I drummed her to the other side with her drum. And then my brother died about 3 years ago. So I still mourn them. I'm still in mourning. Guess I will for the rest of my life. This picture here, this is my grandmother. That's her grave in Fort Frances, Ontario. My grandmother went to a convent in Manitoba, and she used to say that she hated Indians, but knowing that she was Indigenous herself. And sadly, my grandmother died. Oh, that fell off. That's my grandfather and that's my grandmother. They died in an accident involving alcohol. That was their fault. And my mother was 17 when they died. So my family has had a lot of trauma growing up. My mom had a hard time without both her parents, and who wouldn't? This here is just my ancestors. I have so many pictures of my ancestors. And I just put them into, just a few of them into this book. Some of my dad's, some of my mother's ancestors. This picture here was my auntie rescued my grandmother from the convent, the residential school, when my grandmother was, we think she was 14 or 15, but we don't know how old she was when she was. My auntie got her out and into my auntie's care. Her mother had died, so I think her father had said she could go. But anyway, I'm not sure. That story's lost in time. This here is a picture of my ancestors, and what I did was I put this was a tree that actually I had made. This is some painting that I had put together, some acrylic paints, and I'd made this tree. So I ended up putting the tree here. And these are all my ancestors' names from many of the families. And I put little mirrors here because those people, those family members are reflected in me. And even though I have, you know, the black leaves that they died, I'm still flowering. And that's the moon up there. This page is just about flowering. This project really helped me to flower so much, to grow as a Métis woman. And so this is I embroidered this piece and then I quilted this, and it was just a fun page to do, showing growth. And I love flowers. Who doesn't love flowers? This here, this is when I went to Pembina. I honored my ancestors. This is a photo of me honoring them. And here is a photo. It says, when people die, they become a dream spirit. And that is, I have this written, this is Métis, and that's what it says. And that's just a photo of me looking over the Atlantic Ocean. It was with my sister, and we had a beautiful ceremony. And yeah, so that's just the ancestors, honoring them. This is this is me standing atop the hill. I used a Métis sash, and it's all a quilted. It's actually called slow stitching. So this is a slow stitch page. A lot of this work is slow stitching. And this is victory, you know, and I have symbols within my work. So the symbol of the dragonfly is my mom, and I have turtle for Turtle Island. The three roses are past, present, and future of my life and my growth. This again is also showing my growth as a Métis woman, and just again, it was so healing to learn about the language and how it's made from, you know, it was developed from Cree and English, some English, and French and Ojibwe. And you know, I can't believe that my grandmother spoke this language and was so ashamed of it. She didn't teach her children. You know, it's like a lost language. And I think in doing this project, it really, really hit home to me how sad I am that I lost that language. And you know, I could learn it again, but I just feel like I'm too old to do that. I don't have the skill in learning a new language, but it definitely was really amazing. This project really helped me to connect to the language, and I did a lot of research about it. This is a photo of me flowering. My daughter took this photo of me down on Lake Superior. I was covered in rocks, and I have my Métis sash around me, and this symbolizes growth. And this is flowers. I'm growing into that flower that showed the flower on this side. It's love, self-love, love of community, or love from community. Doing this project, all of this has helped. This page here just represents being a grandmother. I have 7 grandsons, and they call me Nokamis. Noki is is the name they call me, and it's just about the importance of the grandmothers teaching their grandchildren. And this is a pretty busy page, but it's my grandchildren, my 7 grandsons. I have little buttons there representing each of them. And my grandmother used to crochet, so this isn't one crochet that she did herself, but I just put it in there to remind me of her. She was my grandmother, even though I didn't meet her in this world. And there again is a picture of me. Even though there was a lot of sadness in my home with my father's drinking, he captured this photo of me having absolute joy, and I love that. It's the only picture actually of me ever taken where I'm laughing like that as a child. So I am so joyful when I'm with my grandkids, so I just put that in there. This here is representing my drum, and my mother's drumming, and the two of us have drums. My sister has mom's drum now, and it's just representing celebrating the moon, the Nokomis, and celebrating being a woman. I also am very connected to land, and I pray on the land, and I don't know if you can see that in there, but there's a picture of me actually laying in the water, and that's a picture of me honoring the grandfather. I think it was, yeah, the grandfather. So that's a manipulated photo, but that's just me when I'm outside. Like most people, I just get such joy out of being outside and healing. This is my husband and I, the old man, and he makes me so happy. I've been with him for 27 years, and it's a picture of us. We love each other, and to infinity. And again, just love. I love. And this is just a reminder that, you know, I'm 62, almost 63, but there will still be more adventures. I'm on the way to more adventures await to me as a Métis woman. This here, I don't have it filled yet, but I do have a bunch of papers, like my grandparents' death, some healing papers. So I'm going to tuck them in here. I just haven't put them in yet until the book's put together. This last page was a church that I went to in Newfoundland, and on the grave I put Métis, because I am very sad that it was lost in my family, and it is dead. However, I know that, you know, through projects like this, that language and culture will be brought back. And this, I have showing the juxtaposition of my mom, who was raised Catholic. My grandmother was Catholic, and French Catholic, as she used to say, really Métis. But my mother embraced her culture in the last decade or more of her life. So I just have the symbol of my mom and the rosary, but she also had a drum. And this little guy, Albert, I put him in a lot of the work that I do. So I do encaustic wax, and I found him. I did a workshop, and I was just really taken by little Albert. And Albert is my grandmother's youngest brother. So my grandmother had 4 siblings that died, and when I told my mom after I researched it, she didn't believe me, and she said my mother would have told me. And I said, Mom, back then you just didn't talk about it. You know, my grandmother, her own mother had tuberculosis. Her own mother died. She went to the convent. Her brother died, Albert, when I believe they were a year apart. So she was about 8 and he was 7, and he died. And I got the documentation from the Manitoba Registry, and he died of malnutrition. So I always remember Albert in any of the work that I do. I put him in there. That's the little symbol of who Albert is. That's a copyright free symbol. I don't know what the proper term is, but I can use that symbol, so I have been. And I just call him Albert now, because I don't want him to be forgotten. He was forgotten and never talked about, and I don't know why, but it's so important to me. His death was not in vain. So that is my project. It was extremely healing. I'm looking forward to putting the book together, and yeah, it's been exciting. So I cannot be thankful enough for having this project. Merci.